All right, I think we're live now. Hi, this is Mark Waller, and this is the lovely and very smart Rachelle Lane. And this is Lions and Unicorns Live. We hope that our announcement went out correctly. I thought it did. I don't know. I've got so many moving parts here. I don't know if I'm coming or going. Anyway, this is a live stream about conscious relationships. And today, Rochelle, I thought we would start by talking about relationships as spiritual practice, which
Ooh, I
which
like that.
is I know something you've thought about. And if you're watching us,
Yes.
we've got the comments up. Please ask questions, make a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And I've been a marriage family therapist for 30 years, and I know Rochelle comes at this completely differently using plant medicine and working with couples. And I'm just curious, I mean, they just come in off the street to me and I start from scratch. You have some preparation you do, and I wonder how your experience of working with couples would be different from mine as a result of that. What do you think?
Great question. I think we definitely have a similar clientele,
Uh
being
huh.
that people are awake enough to realize, like, okay, something that we're doing is not working and we're not able to fix it ourselves. I go through an intake form, which also has, like, obviously some medical information. We have to make sure physically, medically, they're okay to work with plant medicine. But as far as like what they're coming to me for, I would say the majority have some type of spiritual understanding
Ah,
that obviously there is something outside of just being able to communicate better and to, you know, forgive their partner. Like they've read the books, they've already gone through, some of them have gone through some form of therapy. And then they kind of come to me as like, hey, I mean, I don't want to say this totally, but some of them are last ditch effort.
yeah,
Like we've tried everything already. And
right,
now we've heard that psychedelics have been used underground for the last 40, 50 years. This isn't new. They've been using these analogs or what they call intactogens for the last 40 plus 50 years. Shulgin, him and his wife. And so I think it's a type of person that, yeah, they're open, they're into personal growth, and they want something different. They're like, what else is there out there? What else can we
right.
do? So
Yeah, that's interesting. So what when they're done with the preparation, let's say, what
mhm.
kind of frame of mind are they in that would be different than standard therapy?
I don't think there's a difference when you say standard therapy. I just think they're more open minded because they're
Okay,
seeing that traditional means or the channels that they've gone through isn't working anymore. I had
no,
like one couple tell me, and I know you, Mark, are a completely different type of counselor. And I don't even, it's interesting, you're a therapist, but I really look at you as a coach because I think that's what I got out of working in your sessions
uh-huh,
with me is like you're really a coach. And some therapists are out there and they're just like, talk about what you've done in the past and talk about what you've done in the past and then talk about what you've done. And it's all about just repeating your past,
right,
which
right,
really isn't helping you. And so they're
no,
like, okay, we've talked about it a million times. We're still
right,
fighting about the same subject. We're still like at gridlock. And how do we get past that? We can't get
right,
past that. So plant medicine, because we know like MDMA and other things, it takes away the default mode network or it lowers it greatly so that you're not working with the ego, that you
so
actually are starting to, come to that person and see them through the eyes of love. You start to see them with the heart. And so
okay,
that is a whole new way of
okay.
communicating and talking to your partner.
In other words, it puts the defenses aside.
Exactly. And imagine your heart is so open. You're so in love with yourself, more importantly. Now you're speaking to your partner about how they never do the dishes, or when they come home, they're on the phone the whole time, or
Uh,
that they didn't respond to you all day about something important that you wanted. you're much more likely to be able to receive without reacting and
Okay.
without, making it
Exactly.
about you, right?
Exactly.
Because that's what
Okay.
we do in relationships. Conflict, we make everything about us. But as you're going to discuss, and I know we're going to touch on today, it's never about them.
Right.
It's a spiritual relationship with ourselves. And as you've said many times, a intimate relationship is the best way for spiritual awakening.
So KBPG is saying wife with the start of COVID and death of her mom happening simultaneously has gone into conspiracies full time. Everything is a conspiracy. No one landed on the moon. I want to comment on this because you may find my attitude about this is a little different. Because there were so many lies that happened during COVID and so many people were victimized and so many people had their eyes open to the fact that the world we live in is not what we thought it was,
Mhm.
then a lot of people went down every rabbit hole they could find. I was one of them. And so, my question to you is making the comment here is to what extent is this affecting your ability to love your wife and to be compassionate and to
Yes.
accept her the way she is?
Yes.
And if you're having a big reaction to the fact that she believes in conspiracies, this is so funny. I'll just tell a little story. I was into all the conspiracies, and my wife thought I was crazy. And then
Hmm.
somehow she started watching things on the internet or listening to somebody, and now she's a prepper. So I guess my question to KBPG is what is preventing you from loving her and being compassionate with her exactly where she is? And this really gets to the theme today, doesn't it, Rochelle? Because,
Yeah.
our inability to meet people where they are tells us everything we need to know about ourselves. It doesn't really
Yes.
tell us anything about the other person.
Yes.
And so, and the more, I believe, the more awake you become, the more easy it is for you to meet people where they are and just accept them
Yes.
without expectations. Um, yeah, 200,000 children held hostage under Washington, D.C. I'm not so sure that's not true. I don't know. Uh, I've talked to people who knew nurses that worked during COVID in you remember when they brought in all the ships to help people in New York? There are a lot of
Yeah.
rumors that this kind of thing was going on there. So honestly, I've decided I don't know what's going on. All I know is what's going on with me and what I'm responsible for. And
Yeah.
I understand your concern, uh, KBPG. I get it. Um, but later, okay, he's probably not appreciating what I'm saying. What's your
So Mark,
what?
I want to answer on that. I mean, you're right. I was totally down the rabbit hole. Me, my whole family, like we were like, this is crazy. Look at it. We knew the government was this way, but at the end of the day, I, like you, had to decide, am I going to let my external world dictate how I live my life?
Right.
And it's like, no, we are getting an opportunity to go in. And this is what we're talking about with relationships. Our our spouse maybe they're an extreme conspiracy theorist. Maybe they have different parenting styles than I do, or maybe the just different views of money. I get that. But
Uh huh.
who are you in the face of being with difficulties or being with something that you don't agree with? How do you
Right.
show up? And that
Well,
is where
I think you
start
just
to
saw an
change.
example of that. I think we just saw an example of how somebody shows up in the face of disagreement. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
every now and then I get a crazy idea, and if my wife was that way with
Yeah.
me, if she didn't love me and wasn't tolerant of my goofy theories, I wouldn't be tolerant of her goofy theories, and we wouldn't have much of a relationship. It would be goofy. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about trying to agree with everything that your spouse talks about or have to 100% be on the same page. It's literally just like, how much can I hold space for them and love them
right.
anyway. Right. And so Mark, what do you think is like why so many long-term couples feel like roommates after a long time? Like, what is that I have couples that like, yeah, they like lead separate lives. They kind of like, and they're really good together. Like they're friends. They have fun things they do, but that intimacy spark is gone. Like, what happens, and how do you rebuild something like that?
Well, the only thing you can do is find out what your motives are for allowing that to fade. I mean, it's not like somebody imposed it on you. It's something that happened from the inside out, like everything else. And so
Yeah.
if you don't want to be, I've had clients who have come in. I mean, they're in their 40s, whatever, haven't had sex for 13 years. You know,
Oh wow.
yeah, and to all appearances, they have a great relationship. Everything's fine, but underneath is this seething anger that they've never addressed and don't want to look at. And so, as a matter of fact, I'll go even a step further. I've found that almost all sexual problems are not sexual problems at all. They're emotional problems. You know, the sexual relationship, intimacy in a relationship is a symptom, not a cause.
Ah.
So that's how I think about it. When somebody comes in and says, we're only roommates, we don't have intimacy, and so on and so forth, I don't start treating that symptom. Well, you need to get ashwagandha or something. I'm not. The first thing I start asking is, okay, this is monkey brain stuff. You know,
Yeah.
your sex drive comes directly from the limbic system, and that means there's some emotional stuff going on. And so that's what I focus on. So,
That is so amazing. I didn't even think about that.
you're kidding,
It's
really?
no, like of course it makes sense, but the first thing that you said is that's the first thing. To me, it's like, oh, it's the intimacy, right? That's what I first think of is like intimacy
Uh-huh.
with yourself is what I'm
Well,
usually seeing.
sure, sure. And that's kind of the same way of saying what I said in most people don't know what baggage they brought to the relationship, and they don't know how it's driving their behavior, and so
Yeah,
they can't explain why there's no intimacy, you know,
that makes sense.
and there's no compassion, and why is there no compassion,
Yeah.
and so when you got to dig down and find out, okay, what's really motivating this situation? What does it say? If I'm not intimate, what does it say about me that I'm in this situation? Doesn't tell me anything about my partner. It tells me everything about me. And
Yeah.
so,
So how important is it to dig? Because you know how traditional therapy, it seems like there's this constant digging of the past and digging and our parents and or maybe our ethnicity and all these lineage and ancestral things. How important is that, you think, to solving a problem that's going on right now?
I don't think it's necessary to dig. I think the answer is usually right there.
Mm,
You just if I say they say, well, we're not intimate because I'm tired or whatever.
yeah.
But you have to ask enough questions so you get the emotional language they use around defining this problem, and maybe it's fear, or maybe it's betrayal, or maybe it's rejection. And then you ask, okay, because the relationship is a metaphor for their childhood relationships. And so
Ah,
the question becomes, okay, how does this relationship remind you of your childhood? And they usually just come
yeah.
right out and tell you.
Yeah.
They'll say, well, my father was a long haul truck driver and I never got to see him and yada yada. And before you know it, there's a key and it ties the two things together.
Beautiful.
And,
But that's the initial part that is understanding. And then there's no need to keep repeating that part of like,
oh,
let's discuss it, right?
right, right. And so, yes,
Yeah.
and so it's I'm kind of looking around my office to see if I've got something I can use. Here's my garbage can. Here's my garbage can. Okay, so traditional therapy is kind of like the garbage can.
Mm-hmm.
We got to go in the garbage can. We got to see look at what's in the garbage can. We're going to dump it out. And we're going, oh, that's about mom and that's about dad. And before you know it, we've got the garbage, spread out all over the table. And you come back the next week and we paw through the garbage some more. But fundamentally, all we need to know is this garbage can is about rejection or abandonment or whatever it is. We know that. Now the next question is, when do you know when you pick up the garbage can?
Mm.
So you just had an interaction with your relationship. You picked up the garbage can. Did you know that you picked it up?
Yeah.
Well, if you picked it up and you know you picked it up, then, well, you can put it down. You don't have to carry it anymore. So there's no reason for me to, once I understand this is a garbage can, where it came from in my past, all I need to know is when I pick it up and do I really want to make a choice to put it down now?
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm
awareness.
saying?
Yeah, you're talking about becoming aware.
Yes,
Being
exactly.
present.
Exactly.
And because when we pick up the garbage can, we're going unconscious.
Yes.
We're in a program. We're
That's
no
right.
longer present with our partner.
That's exactly
We
right.
have now entered storyland and are not there anymore with them.
Right.
So that's beautiful. That makes
So
sense. Stay present.
your father was a long haul truck driver and your relationship is an introvert who needs time alone. And what we tend to do, because of the way the brain works, is we conflate our father, the truck driver, with our relationship, who's an introvert,
Mhm.
and we start reacting with all this sadness without really understanding why it's happening and why the two are connected together. But once you see the relationship, you suddenly realize, oh my God, I can see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's what I call picking up the garbage can.
That's lovely. That's a great analogy. I'm going to steal that one, Mark.
And so now all you have to do is just train your brain. Every time I feel like my relationship is, not connecting with me emotionally, and I start feeling like they don't care about me, I immediately ask the question, how's this about my long haul truck driver father? And I see it. The instant I see the relationship, I realize this is projection,
Yeah.
and this is not what's really happening in front of me, and now I can see clearly what's going on.
Wow.
Years of therapy
So
in 5
simple.
minutes. It's extremely simple.
It's so
Extremely
simple.
simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
People
I love it.
if you're on live with us and you have a question you want to engage in the discussion here, please put it in the comments. We'll bring it up on the screen, and we'd love to interact with you. But to me, this is so simple. Once you learn to think this way,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like you sent a couple to me. I immediately understood where the wounds were, what the problems were. It was like people actually advertise this. Literally, they will tell you, I am having this problem because this happened to me in my childhood, and they don't realize what they're saying.
Yes, it's
You know?
true. It's like, but that's kind of okay. So let's talk about that because I tease my daughter about she has the most beautiful language. Well, I'm feeling overwhelmed, or
Mm-hmm.
you're gaslighting me, or all the things. So they have the language down,
Right.
but still unconscious.
Right.
So that doesn't help us to know that, like, again, your formula, I'm a lion and lions get angry and we
Right.
run to, to engage with us and come back to us and prove to me that I'm worthy and that I'm loved and all those things. But just because I know that, it doesn't mean that that is where the behavior I want to continue or I want to identify with. And so that's the challenge of like, I love these things of understanding, yes, labeling and understanding how you normally go unconscious. But there has to be a point now where we don't keep identifying with these labels,
Well,
right?
I think one of the big problems that I see, and I see this consistently, is people don't know their history. You know,
Mm,
like even this morning, I was in a session with somebody who was saying, well, when I was a little boy, I was allowed to do anything I wanted to do, and it sounded like an ideal situation. But he's very passive aggressive and very angry. He hates being told what to do. So he starts telling the story of his childhood. It was horrendous. And he'd been telling me all along how normal everything. Well, it wasn't normal at all. And
uh,
and in the telling of the story, I looked at him and I said, "Do you realize what you just said? I mean, you just explained everything." And he's like, "I did?" Yeah, I said, "Yeah, listen." And I fed it back to him, and he says, "Oh my God." So people
mm,
in our culture, I guess we think we're real psychological in the West and all that stuff, but people don't know their own story and how it
yeah,
creates patterns in their lives. It's not something they think about.
yes.
And
I I agree with that.
then what we do is we metaphorically go repeat it and recreate it as adults, and then we wonder why
Wow.
our life doesn't work. You know,
That's so true.
because you're still
So
battling the
true.
older brother who used to beat you up every afternoon. Oh, well, what does that have to do with it? It's just
It's so true. It's just, yeah, it's amazing. And it's great that once we realize that, then we can step out of it and then we
exactly.
can start being present. And
Yeah,
that's so much of, I guess, what my work is about and what I love working with, plant medicine, because it always is about taking us to this moment right now. Because every present moment is a gift in our life and we can start over. Yes, we have these things that have affected us and have been a part of our story. But if today we decide to stay present and to move forward from here, we can do that, right?
yeah,
But it takes getting out of the program,
right.
stop letting ourselves tell the old story over and over again, and going
Hmm.
unconscious and staying in this now moment, especially with our spouse or someone we feel like that may have done something
Right,
wrong. It's really easy to keep bringing the same argument back
right,
to the now moment and to keep replaying that. And unfortunately, you said in one of your, I actually think you said it in even one of our sessions that we had, you said, like, it's not about talking about what's currently going on. It's showing up as anew. It's you showing up as a person that is present and conscious, because we keep wanting to try to solve that problem when it's not ever about the problem. It's who
right,
we're being
right.
in when that problem comes up. And that was, excuse me, that was a big game changer for me when
Well,
you said that.
what you're really talking about, and I think an advantage that you have the way you work that I don't have is people have to overcome their pride.
Yeah.
And I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, when you go through the portal of plant medicine, the pride kind of gets shuttled aside,
Yeah.
whereas I have to deal with it directly. I have no alternative but to do that.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing to see people that come in with, angst or issues, and then they just drop in their heart and they're so in love. And like you said, the ego is just almost all gone. And
Right,
now they can discuss, and now they can really open up, what do I really want? what I really want because, they've been afraid to ask their partners for to be vulnerable and to tell
Uh-huh.
them what would really help them or what would really help keep their heart open. And so it is a beautiful thing. After though these hours or these weekends wear off, that's where the real work comes in though. Now it's
Right.
embodying it, right?
Right.
It's not
Right.
not just like, okay, my ego's gone, great. Well, that's only for hours, right? At a
Right.
time. Now it's time, how do I do this? And that's when understanding like the lion and the unicorn,
Mm-hmm.
that's when understanding like how you go into your program and your story, and then you become aware of it, and now you can slowly become a new person, seeing yourself outside of the story,
Right.
outside of this character that you've built.
Well, you know, one thing I think people struggle with that I see all the time is they don't understand. So you're married to this person or you're in a relationship with somebody who absolutely had a miserable childhood, abuse, stress, whatever you want to. And then there's no understanding of how that impacts their adult life.
Mhm.
And what people don't understand because it's never explained to them. The brain is this gigantic survival thing, and when you go through a childhood like that, every fiber of your being is trained how to survive that. And so if you as a little boy you learned to run away from home and your alcoholic father would come home from work, that's how you're going to manage relationships. You're going to run away. But try to explain that to their partner. Why they're running. Well, yeah, but that's no excuse. And I turn to him
Yeah.
and say, well, okay, but here's how your husband was raised. This is what he went through. Now you've got a son who's about 9, right? Yeah. Okay, well, what would happen to your son if he was raised by your husband's parents?
Ugh.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I said, there was no possibility there weren't going to be problems.
Yeah.
No possibility at all. And then, of course, the next question to ask is, what does it say about you that you needed to marry somebody like this? Because you have an agenda that led you into this type of a relationship. Oh, now it becomes a whole different conversation.
That, Mark, is so much that you can go into why we choose the partners we do. In fact, I think that would be a good topic that we could just stay on top of, is why we choose our partners, our romantic partners.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
choose.
It's
Uh,
in our growth, right? It's personal. It's for our awakening, for our
well,
enlightenment.
that's right. And we choose partners because the part of the brain that learns all this is trying to solve a problem.
Mm.
So if when you were a little girl, your problem was your critical mother, you're going to grow up to be in a relationship with a man who's critical of you because
Mm.
your whole psyche is organized around overcoming criticism. So
Wow.
so from your point of view, that is the problem you have to overcome in order to get love and acceptance in the relationship. So you're going to pick somebody and then you're going to subconsciously coach them into being the critic.
Mark, this is not sounding hopeful. Come on now.
Well, no, well, it's not hopeful. We're not in good shape, but if we're willing to work on our own self-awareness and our own awakening, it leads to the best kind of healing there could be
Yeah.
because then the past is released from you and you're free to
Mm.
move about the cabin.
I love that. That's true freedom, taking our power back from the
Exactly.
past and that anchor, because whenever we are in these agreements, consciously or consciously, we've anchored ourselves to
That's right.
those ways of being. And
Yep.
yeah, you're right. We have no understanding of like, well, why isn't this relationship working? why can't we ever make this job work? Or why do we always have problems with relationships? It's
Right.
because of this unconscious anchor.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow,
So
I get it.
this
Well,
is so.
everybody's so
Go,
quiet today. Is anybody open to ask some questions? Mark and I are just talking about everything.
yeah. So, if you look around through this lens, I mean, you'll see it everywhere. I mean, nurses are rescuers, police officers have authority issues, um, long haul truck drivers are trying to get away from something. I mean, these things that we learn as children become metaphors that we act out for the rest of our lives. And
Wow.
I might just say that relationship dynamics, the lion and unicorn model applies if you're 20 or 70. These things don't change. You know, our needs and our wants don't change. Our distorted perceptions don't change. We're 65 years old. We've been married 3 times to the same person, and
Yeah.
done the same thing, used the same solutions that didn't work over and over
Yeah.
again. So there's something deep happening here that we need to set ourselves free from, and that's the purpose of a relationship.
Wow. That's a that's a very it's interesting. I was listening to this guy on Instagram about this, and why we're here as humans and the story we get to play out. We're the main character, the writer and the director.
Right.
And here we are in a relationship. I mean, that's just what you're saying. This is here on purpose. It's all
Right.
here for purpose.
Yeah.
So, what a
Or
great
or
way to
it's
look at life.
or it's not, and then what do we do? If there
Then
is
we
no
move on.
purpose.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So
Well, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I'm just encouraging people who are listening to interact with us, ask a question, um, and we'd be happy to take up the topic, any topic that's related to couples or relationships. That's what we're here to talk about. And if you'd like to be on this live stream with us, we're here every Monday at noon, and we'll
Yes.
we'll draw a little box. We'll have to make Rochelle's box a little smaller to make room.
Hey, what happened to my box?
But we've had many of you on. It's been a lot of fun. At least it has for
Yeah.
us. I don't know if it has for them. So
Yeah, we can't seem to get most of them to come back. They're like, wait a minute. I spilled too many secrets about myself.
you
It
know,
gets
let
so
me let me
comfortable.
let me just say something about that. We have a live stream where we concentrate on mastering thought and learning moment mindfulness on Thursday evening at 6:15, and we've got regulars on there. Um, one of which I know you know very well, and she's experienced a huge transformation. And I hope the same thing happens in our couples uh, live streams on Monday, because if we could get somebody in here who's struggling and start
Yeah,
discussing the process and giving them this information, you would see week by week the transformation that's happening, because you can see it on our Thursday night live streams. You know,
nice.
we've got a woman whose whole life has changed, and there are 2 men on there regularly. Um, and oh, okay,
Oh,
Jet is saying I have no interest, wish, or desire to be in a romantic relationship, but I like to support this channel. And I guess there's a follow up coming, and I can understand that. But anyway, I was
many
going to
people
say,
on the path of seeking choose not to have partnership.
if you go look at the recordings for the Thursday night live stream, you will see 3 or 4 individuals that have participated whose lives you can see kind of metamorphosize through the process of
Nice.
awakening. It's really amazing.
That's beautiful. I love
So,
it.
so we'd like
Well,
to
I
have that
think,
same
yeah,
thing
well,
here.
oh, we will. And I think maybe we'll like try to pick a little topic that we can entice people to join us on in something that might interest them or what's going on in their life or their relationships so that
She says,
people,
still, I'm learning so much. Good for you, Jet. We love to have you around. Jet
yeah.
comes to this live stream, and she's also been oftentimes a visitor to the Thursday night. Let me ask you, Jet, as long as you're listening, have you been tuning in and watching Paul and Simon and Sarah and the tremendous change that has occurred in their lives? If you have, just let me know. I'd be interested in hearing your feedback. And if you're listening, any other questions, post them in the comments. So, what other relationship topics, Rachelle, have kind of been on your mind?
You're kind of putting me on the spot. I guess
I
for
do that.
me, because yeah, you do. It's okay. I've been telling you the last couple of weeks, I have a couples workshop that I'll be launching in September. And so for me, it's just about how do we connect and remember why we are together with our partner. So it's like, what are some
Uh-huh.
true things that we can do right now, day by day, that 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 could help us open up to speaking in a new way to our partner, right?
Uh-huh.
Or to open ourselves up. I think when we talk about relationships, it is really about ourselves. I know the partner is the mirror and is really reflecting parts of ourselves back to us, but
Uh-huh.
truly it's about us. So if we just did the work, and I know people say this, well, if I'm doing my part, they have to do their part. And
That's
I
not
can
true.
honestly say, I promise you right now, I will say this from personal experience, that it only takes one person to change a
That's cor-
relationship.
that's
And
correct.
it doesn't mean you put up with bad behavior if it's not, especially if it's emotionally or mentally or spiritually abusive, right? That goes
Uh-huh.
without saying. But it really only takes one person, and that one person is you. And I've seen it over and over again. Once I change how I view them, once I change what I'm saying to them, once I go back in and I keep myself in alignment, I make sure that I'm present, then the relationship will change
So
always.
we have this interesting question from Hino or Hino, I'm not sure which. Is attention the movement of the mind? Attention is mental activity.
Yes.
And is it used when just knowing this direct experience without thinking? Yes, you cannot have attention while you're thinking. You can't think and pay attention at the same time. So, attention is not a function of thought. It, as a matter of fact, when you focus your attention, you actually switch networks in the brain so there is no thought
Right.
while you're paying attention. I don't know if that's kind of where you expected me to go with that question, but that's what came to mind. Do you have anything to add to that, Rochelle?
No, I think I agree wholeheartedly. Thinking is just that chatter that just doesn't go. Like you said, it's like
Right.
driving in the car. Do you need milk? Oh no, do you need eggs? Look at the gas tank. You need to go get gas in your car. And we really believe that that's us. And so that's the most important thing, is to realize this little chatter, this constant narrative that's playing in the background. It really is not us. It's just this overactive ego mind that's just constantly going in the background.
So I would encourage you to like and subscribe. The channel, Mastering Thought channel, has taken off. 3 weeks ago, we had a video that was excellent. I thought that has over 40,000 views. We published one yesterday that's already at 6,000. The one yesterday, this is very interesting. Basically, the title of the video is "If There Is No Self, What's That Talking in My Head?" And of course, the thesis of it is that if there's no self, it's impossible to have self-talk. So,
Uh-huh.
and it's it's really, kind of taking on a life of its own. So we'd love you to support the channel, but more importantly,
Yes.
we'd like you to be part of our community because we're doing a lot
Yes.
of interesting things. By the way, while I'm thinking about if I can do a shameless plug, I have a new book out called Free of the Mind. I'd love you to follow the links below if you'd like some coaching. Both my information and Rachelle's will be in the description below. And Rachelle, this is a good time for you to mention your upcoming workshop in Santa Monica. Is it going to be?
Actually, no, our first one's going to be here in Seattle in
Oh,
September 18th to
oh,
the 19th. And so I'm going to, yeah, I'll put the information. I'd also like to put a link for our newsletter because you can stay abreast of all the things going on. We do personal, private, I do small group medicine ceremonies, and then we have our couples medicine ceremony we're really excited about. It's going to be our inaugural launch September 18th and the 19th. So if this interests you at all, and you don't have to be in dire straits or having massive trouble, it could just be curiosity and something
mm-hmm.
that you're excited to explore. And what would that feel like to see you and your partner, in the eyes of through the eyes of love, as source and as the universe sees you. It's a pretty beautiful experience. So yeah, that will all be in the link. Thank you.
If you would be so kind as to give me a text or an email with the actual updated information you want in the
Yeah,
descriptions, so I don't leave anything out. You mentioned
thank you.
small groups. I'm having small groups right now, Tuesdays and Thursday morning at 9 Pacific time. We have small groups. We're teaching moment mindfulness, and it's a limit of 5 people. And these are really high level people. They've been on the path for many, many years, and they're fascinating groups in addition to the one on one coaching. All those links will be below. So we got a couple minutes left. Any final thoughts on couples, or are there any questions from our audience before we
Yeah.
run off and leave you for the week? Here we go. Jed is saying, my critical mother indeed led me to relationship with an even worse critical partner. There you go. See?
Ah,
Once you start seeing these parallels, they're all over the place.
yes.
You just can't avoid seeing
Yes.
them.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing, Mark, is that we came here, like you said, to wake up. So instead of looking at, our parents, they were also doing the best they can. They, had their own ways of growing up and being that obviously affected them. And we don't have to look at any person with disdain, but
Mm-hmm.
we can just see it as all a part of this beautiful story that we came here to experience as a soul, as beings. So it's a beautiful journey if we choose it to be.
When you get to a certain level, you just don't need to change anybody, you know.
Yeah, so
So,
true.
and you realize that your insistence on having them change will probably make the process much slower than it needs to be. So,
Yeah. Well, and I'll end with this last thing because I feel it feels really true to me. It feels good. I mean, I read a lot of texts, Bhagavad Gita, Bible. I've read all certain things, the Kabbalah, all the things. And there's this teacher that said, all you have to realize is that your desires are guaranteed as we come through this life here, that we are just a representation of our higher self, or this universe wanting to experience life through us. So those desires are put out, and like you said, no resistance. We'll be able to see come to fruition through us.
all right. With that, we'll say goodbye. We love you all. Please join us again next Monday at noon. We'll talk about relationships. And if you need anything, reach out to us in the comments. And we will, one more thing. Jet says one more thing. Definitely see the difference and improvement with she's saying she definitely sees the improvement in the people who are on the live streams on
Yeah.
Thursday, especially Simon's a miracle. Absolute, an absolute miracle. He's
I
just
love
a
it.
fantastic individual, very caught up in his head, and that's all being released. And it's almost like a flower unfolding. You can see it on
Yes.
Thursday nights. It's amazing.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I love it. Good work, Mark. Thank you for having this channel and giving people a place to come to, like you said, connect to each other and just for being a light in the world. I appreciate you.
All right, we'll see everybody soon. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.